Yo, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashim, Hamashiach, Malak Yahushua, for giving me the spirit and power to do this lesson. All right, so what we're going to touch on today, we're dealing with thug, right? Because our people claim the culture of being thugs. I'm about to show where it goes back to. It goes back to the Hindu god Kali. All right, study to show ourselves approves. The word thug goes back to the Hindu god Kali. All right, so let's get into a little bit of it. Let's read this first before we get into some scriptures. Right? You dig? Slovakia. Okay, so this is what the definition of thug means in the world, right? When they look at blacks, they say they're nothing but a bunch of thugs, right? So the term that they're using is correct, right? When they call us that, because our nation, that's what we do, man. We rob, steal, we're very violent. Let me just read this definition. It says, a violent, aggressive person, especially one who is a criminal. This is the definition of thug according to Esau. But we know Esau is the biggest thug. It says a hoodlum, a bully boy, right? A bandit, a mugger, a gangster, a terrorist, a murderer, a killer, a hitman, assassin, hooligan, vandal, cutthroat. So these are the definitions of what they call a thug, man, which our people hang on to this culture so much, but they have no idea it goes back to heathen gods. This is a heathen deity that the heathens worship, that we have another one that we have took hold of, right? Like we take hold of the Greeks and their gods, the Romans and their gods, and we see now we take up the culture of the thug, man, which goes back to the Hinduism, right? But it says right here, a member of a religious organization of robbers and assassins in India. So those East Indians, the ones that have their red dot in their forehead, this is their God, right? But this is Israel for you. It says devotees of the goddess Kali, the thugs waylaid and strangled their victims, right? This is which goes into mugging. It says usually travelers in a ritual prescribed manner, they were suppressed by the British in the 1830s, right? So let's get more on it. And then we can get to some scripture. So right here, it says thugs. Slovakia. Right here it says thugs were Hindu and Muslim Indians, right? Because those East Indians, those are the original Indians, right? Christopher Columbus, he thought he landed in India, so he named it the Gadite and the Reubenites and the rest of the tribes that came here. He named them Indians, but the true Indians are the ones that have the dot on their forehead. If you Google the word Indians, they're going to pull up not the Native Americans, right? It says Indians whose Thuggee cult was based on the worship of goddess Kali, right? This is a woman deity that they worship. The background behind the thug, it says Kali is the destructive and creative mother goddess in the Hindu religion. Kali is the fierce aspect of Diva, the supreme goddess who is fundamental to all Hindu deities. All right, I mean, this deity can go into all of them. All right, it has something to do with all the gods that they serve in Hinduism. It says the ongoing work of creation is described by believers as the play of Kali, right? And you drop down a little bit, you can read this on your own time. The article is Histobis, History Bits, right? And it's not hard to find. But when we drop down right here, it says thugs were well organized, right? Who's more well organized when it comes to crime than Esau, right? He has something called organized crime. It says hereditarily cult that practice large scale robbery and murder, right? We know who's the top robbery and murderer on this earth, man, who stores up all the gold to himself, like it tells you in Job 27. It says justified by their belief in serving Kali, right? Membership. And Esau serves these guys too, man. Esau don't have a history of having gods. So what he do is he take everybody's god, and he serve them also, right? And he pass them down to the nation of Israel and make them serve him, right? We claim to be thugs. We get this from Esau. Esau gave this to us, He dressed it up and he gave it to us. That's why you have rappers like Ice Cube, Tupac, Crazy Bone, Zero, Slim Thug, Young Thug, right? This was passed down to our people, and that's why these people are famous, because they glorify that deity, right? So they will be glorified so that they can pass the torch, they can pass it on, right? And when our people come in, they try to change the meaning of these names, but hey, it says what it says though. You can change it up, but you're still serving this deity of Hindu, right? Of serving Kali, right? Like Tupac, he tried to change the meaning of what thug life meant, right? He tried to reverse it from being a criminal, and we about to get into it, but Zero also, Zero tried to change thug. He tried to change it to true hero under God. You can't make stuff like that slide. That's just not gonna happen, man. Thug, we see the definition of what thug is, and it has nothing to do with the Most High God at all, man. Right? So it says hereditary cult that practiced large scale robbery and murder justified by their belief in serving Kali. Membership induction was often passed from father to son, with the women of the home being kept unaware of the men's cult activity. And that's how you know that vibration is real, because that's what they do today, right? They try to make it seem like they not doing nothing when they go outside, like they going to work, but they working on the left hand side. They out there robbing and stealing and killing people, man. Right? It says, as a well organized group of professional murderers or assassins, thugs travel throughout India in gangs of 10 to 200 members. So we see that how they used to do it and how they doing it today is still lines up. It says all dressed in various guises, right? Which goes into disguises, right? They might have a bandana over their face and a bandana on their head, right? Today they have ski mask on, but it says they target travelers, especially wealthy travelers, gaining in confidence of their soon-to-be victims. When a favorable opportunity arose, thugs strangled their victims with a handkerchief or noose around the victim's neck. Once the victim was dead, the thugs then plundered his belongings and buried the body. People do that today. They kill him and they bury the body. This all goes back to this deity. It says uh, the acts of displaying false friendship, that's one of the characteristics of a thug, false friendship, murder, and the burial. So they try to live up to this thug, to the best of their ability, right? Not following the commandments to the best of their ability. They follow things like this Hinduism, God, and be thinking they're justified, right? Thinking God knows their heart. They think that they have to do these kind of things because they feel like they have to feed their children. They use excuses like that. I got to feed my kids. My family got to eat. So it says murder and burial of the victim were performed according to an ancient, rigidly prescribed process. These barbaric acts were all part of their elaborate religious rites performed to honor Kali. It has nothing to do with nothing else but you honoring the goddess Kali. Right. So the way that they're following the characteristics of a thug is completely conforming to the honor and servitude of Kali, man. Nothing else, man. You can change it to whatever you want to. You can have a thug, you can name it a thug organization that's housing men, women, and children, and it still is gonna go back to this in some kind of way, right? Because why would you put that vibration of thug, knowing that hey, there's not one good definition of the word thug that you can look up, not one. But we take hold of this, this name, and we apply it to our culture, right? It says these barbaric acts were all part of their elaborate religious rites performed to honor Kali. The consecration of a pickaxe and the sacrifice of sugar were also very important parts of their religious rites. A portion of spoils of their robbery were often set aside for Kali. Now, I want to get this scripture in the Bible before I get this other article to prove that, hey, this kind of things are in the scriptures, right? It's definitely in the scriptures. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and I'm gonna start at 10. Proverbs 1 and 10, it says, "My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, Come with us, let us lay wait for blood." Right? Exactly what these thugs would do. They would gather up in groups of 10 to 200 members dressed in disguises, and they would wait for wealthy travelers. And they said that they would gain confidence over their victims, right? And they would strangle them with a handkerchief or a noose. So it says, if they say, Come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. That goes into these travelers, right? And our people don't just target travelers now. They target their own friends now. That's why it said in here false friendships, displaying false friendships. It says, let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as though that go down into the pit. Basically, let us kill them. It says, this is the point right here. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Casting thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. So this is, if you really understood, I don't think he's saying is we shall find precious substance, jewelry, gold, uh, to modernize it, TVs, electronical things that you can take and resell, right? And make a profit off of it because you didn't pay for none of it anyway. And then it goes into saying, cast in thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. Let us all put the stuff that we got together in one clump and divide it within each other. This is in the scriptures. Let us all put our substance together and divide it among each other. Bro, I know this for a fact. This is what we used to do. And this is in the Bible. I'm going to read it again. It says, we shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Man, it says, cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. So they put it all together just so they can divide it, man. Right. And it's all profit because you didn't pay for none of that stuff. All right. So let's go to this. This is what Tupac tried to change the definition of thug. Right. And I'm pretty sure Tupac was a smart man. I'm pretty sure he knew what thug actually meant. But he tried to change the definition. But look where it led him. Look where it got him. Right. That thug life, how he was being, smacked all over TV for it. Right. And it was perfect for Esau. It was perfect because they was already pushing that thug life vibration on us. And Tupac didn't do nothing but magnify it. Right. He tried to change the meaning, but you can't do that, man. You cannot change the meaning. Like if you call somebody a faggot, you can't change the meaning of a faggot. Everybody's going to look at you as a faggot if you're calling yourself a faggot. All right. So if you're calling yourself a thug, everybody's going to look at you for what the definition says it is. It says, though the term thug life is commonly misinterpreted to mean criminal life, this is not actually the intention of the phrase, right? That's because he'd have no idea what this word, I ain't gonna say he probably did know, but most people don't have no idea what this goes back to. It says thug life is a term used with pride, right? And the Most High hates pride, to describe a person who started out with nothing and built themselves up to be something. That's what the term is supposed to mean now. This is what the term is supposed to mean now, but we know damn well what it means, right? And this is Esau, allowing, pushing. Hey, Tupac is the face of thug life. So Esau definitely put him on the forefront to make everybody else want to be and live this thug life. That goes back to this Hindu God. As long as you're not serving the Most High God, your power, Esau is okay with you doing that. Now he's gonna make you the forefront, the head of that, that culture to make it seem like this is what you want to do, but it's being pushed on us, man. This whole vibration. It says the word thug took on a racialized subtext in the latter half of the 20th century, especially for impoverished Black people living in urban communities, regardless of whether these people engaged in criminal behavior or not. According to African American Studies professor Michael Jeffries, this connection between being Black and being a thug rose particularly during the same era in which mass incarceration rose to record levels. Like I said, they use when you go to the definition, Let's go back to it. It says a violent, aggressive person, especially one who is a criminal. So when we start calling ourselves thugs, this gives them the right to incarcerate us because we're calling ourselves this. And of course, they're going to put the guns in the neighborhoods, the drugs in the neighborhoods to make us actually live these lives, right? And the word, it's been the characteristics of a thug has been enhanced. It's been advanced. It says these communities started reclaiming the word thug as a counterculture, cultural rebellion against racism, adopting the term as a form of self-empowered and protest. But we know damn well that is not what that is not what that is, man. Right? So I'm gonna read it all the way down to this part right here. So it says the term was popularized in hip hop culture. Of course, that's where it was magnified. That's like I said, that's why you have people like Ice Cube yelling thug life, right? Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony yelling thug life, thug mentality. Tupac, Zero, Young Thug, Slim Thug. You got all these people with the name Thug and their rhymes, their bio, their slogans, uh, hey, and they name straight up. But we know Esau is the real thug. He is the real gangster. He is the real one who shows no remorse or sympathy. That's the real thug. That's the real gangster. But it says where thug life goes hand in hand with iconic rapper Tupac Shakur. In 1993, Shakur joined with friends Big Syke, the Rated R, Mopreme Shakur, and the Macadonish to form the group Thug Life, right? Who released a now certified gold album, Thug Life, Volume 1 in 1994, as Tupac himself described Thug Life. So this is what he has to say about Thug Life. He says, I don't consider myself to be straight militant. I'm a thug, right? But what's the word? What does thug go back to? It says, in my definition of thug, right? Instead of creating a whole different word and putting this vibration that he had behind it, he tried to take thug because it sounded good and he tried to turn it into what he wanted to be. And that's why they drilled him like this. That's why he was always in court. They drained him for all his money, right? Because he was the forefront of thug. And when all the thing they had to do was read the definition of thug in court, and he over with because he pushing that vibration on himself. It says, and my definition of thug comes from half of the street element and half of the panther element, right? Which was been infiltrated. Esau hated the Black Panthers. Half of the independent movement saying we want self-determination. We want to do it by self-defense and by any means necessary. So the word thug, it has nothing to do with self-determination and self-defense by any means necessary. It has nothing to do with that. Thugs are on the offense, not the defense. They lay in wait for people, right? They don't defend when people are, when it's the opposite. It says, it says, that came from my family, and that's what thug life, it's a mixture. It is not no mixture. We just read what thug life mean. You see, he had thug life tatted on him. Rihanna had thug life tatted on her. So our people follow this culture more than anyone on earth, man. And if you look at the vibration behind it and where it comes from, this is us serving other gods like always, man. So look, let's get Ezekiel. Lock it, where my right. So let's get Ezekiel chapter 20 and 30. This is Ezekiel chapter 20 and 30. Salakia. It says, wherefore said the house of Israel, thus saith the Lord God, are ye polluted after the manner of your fathers, and commit ye whoredom after their abominations? What was one of their biggest abominations? Following idols, man. The gods of the heathens round about. It says, for when ye offer your gifts, when ye make your sons to pass through the fire, which is going back to Molech, it says ye pollute yourselves with all your idols. It says, even in the Most High, what did the Most High say about the nations? Let me get it. Yeah, Yahweh said it. He said the gods of the nations. Slovakia. Right. So this is Psalms 96 and 5. And this is what the Lord said. Let me just click on it. This is what the Lord said. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. So when the Most High speak about Israel following all your idols, it's talking about the gods of the nations, right? Like Kali, the Hinduism god, the thug, right? And they have there's an image for him too. It's a thug demon. Let me get it. There's an image for him. Right here. Because I had seen this before when I was doing research, right? So a diva and a thug, right? Because Beyonce brought out that vibration of being a diva, right? She the one who did that. And these both go back to Hindu gods, man, right? But this is supposed to be the image of them, right? So this is Ezekiel 20 and 31. I'm going to start at 30 again. Wherefore said the house of Israel, thus are ye polluted after the manner of your fathers, and commit ye whoredoms after their abominations. For when ye offer your gifts, when ye make your sons to pass through the fire, ye pollute yourselves with all your idols, the thug god, the diva god. It says, even unto this day. And we know this is speaking past, present, and future, man. It says, and shall I be inquired of you, O house of Israel, as I live, said the Lord God, I will not be inquired by you. So the Lord is inquired means, asked about, right? When somebody asks about, the Lord, or they have a question for the Lord is telling you, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not answering you. This is what he was telling them in Ezekiel chapter 20, the elders, right? So he like, when you ask me a question, I'm not going to answer you because you follow these heathen gods. And that's what our people do today. They think that they can be thugs and divas, and they think they can still serve the Most High because they be in these churches, man. But they be having thug life tattoos all on them. Tupac is a perfect example. He really thought he knew God. That's why he had the phrase, only God can judge me. But he was pushing off this thug vibration. It says, verse 32, and that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. This is what we say. We will be like the heathen. We will be like the heathen of the other countries, to serve wood and stone, and not just wood and stone. And because if you look at the diva statue, these are statues, so they can go into stone. All right, it's not literally just always have to be a cross or the Mecca stone, right? It goes into all of these heathen gods, right? All of these statues that they create, right? But this is what the Lord said. As I live, said the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. The Lord, like, I'm going to beat your ass and I'm going to bring you back to the homeland. Right? And him beating ass is him putting people to death, man. The people that push off this kind of vibration and that would rather die than to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? And this is for the wise and the righteous of, the nation of Israel to look at and consider. Right? The ones that do have sense. Right? That's why the Lord took out Tupac, man. Everybody was treating him as like he was Yahushua. Right? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 30 and 11. This is what the Lord said. He says, for this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it afar off. Right? The law, statutes, commandments is right here in our faces. And these brothers is teaching it every day on the highways and byways, but this is who our people choose to be. They would rather be thugs. Remember, the word has been out since the 60s. So Tupac, we know Tupac and the rest of these rappers heard of, the law, statutes, commandments and what they supposed to do to get salvation. But look what they was pushing. They was pushing Hindu gods, man. Heathen gods, like just like the book of Maccabees, man. Jason was killing his own people. Let me get it. Second Maccabees 11. Might be first Maccabees. Right. So this is First Maccabees 11, and I'm gonna start at 20. It says, at the same time, Jonathan gathered together them that were in Judah to take the tower that was in Jerusalem, and he made many engines of war against it. It says, then certain ungodly persons of the nation of Israel who hated their own people, straight up, went unto the king and told him that Jonathan besieged the tower. All right, so we have people of our nation that literally hate their own people, right? Whether they acknowledge it fully or whether it's through the actions that they do by having us follow heathen gods, man. Because the Lord is going to kill them. The Lord is going to kill them for you introducing them to heathen gods. They tell you that in the law, right? And that's putting wickedness out of Israel. So that proves you hate your people, right? And that's one of the biggest commandments. Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That is one of the biggest commandments. The second greatest commandment. So look, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 1. Because when we look at the definition of a thug, matter of fact, let me go back to this. Where was it at? It literally tell us, like, it literally says somewhere in here about how it was all about, here it is right here. It says the consecration of a pickaxe and the sacrifice of sugar were also very important parts of their religious rites. A portion of spoils of their robbery were often set aside for Kali. So that's what it was all about. Robbery, right? Taking the spoils from anybody that they could get their hands on, right? So one thing we have to understand, if we would have just kept the commandments, the Lord gave us everything already. We would be blessed above all nations. And this is Deuteronomy 28 and 1. It says, so me saying that to say, we got into the position of trying to be thugs, robbing, being criminals, and being violent and aggressors, right? Being gunmen, gangsters, however you want to break it down, because we didn't keep the commandments. The only thing we had to do is keep the commandment. And our people don't want to do it. Some of our people that, they feel like they forced to do it, right? They think that they have to do this, but they really don't. Only thing we had to do was keep the commandments, right? But they see that this thug, the vibration behind it, it gets them places, right? And this is Deuteronomy 28:1. And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God. It says to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So we wouldn't have to be practicing robbery and murder and justifying it by a god, by the Hindu god Kali, right? Because here it is right here. It says thugs were a well-organized hereditary cult that practiced large-scale robbery and murder, right? Only thing we had to do is keep the commandments. Look, let's get that in Isaiah chapter 2, where the Lord literally gave us everything. The Lord gave us everything, but our hearts, grew fat. None made us afraid, like the scriptures say. So this is Isaiah chapter 2 and 6. Therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they have replenished from the east and are soothsayers like the Philistines. This goes into following their gods once again. And they that please themselves in the children of strangers. Their land also is full of silver and gold. Neither is there any end of their treasures. Their land is also full of horses. Neither is there any end of their chariots. Their land is full of idols. Their worship the work of their own hands, that which their own fingers have made. So there you have it. Our land was full of silver and gold and everything that we needed. All kind of different substance. Right? I tell you in Ezekiel chapter 27 or 28, how, all the merchants of the earth that did business with the nation of Israel. So we had everything, man. Like purple. Purple was a hard thing to get back then, but we had plenty of purple. Plenty of it, man. So come on, let me get this. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. All right, Deuteronomy 28, because ultimately, through natural ways, through the Lord, controlling all things, it helps. It helps with the curses, right? The Lord that the curses that the Lord put on us, it goes into that also, right? And this is Deuteronomy 28:54, classic precept. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother and toward the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Right. So, like I said, this well organized hereditary cult that they learn from father to son, because the father, he's a thug, he gangster, he out in the streets. They pass it on to the son, right? By not showing him a different way. You can do it that way, or you can do it by actually teaching him. But it says a hereditary cult that practice large-scale robbery and murder justified by their belief in serving Kali, right? And today they justify it by using things like my kids gotta eat, or what Jake used today, the sayings they use today. But it goes back to the curses of them hating their eye being evil towards their brother, man. Because I thought about this for myself, like when we used to hit licks on people's houses, it was never the rich neighborhoods, the rich white people neighborhoods. Back then, it tells you right here. It tells you right here. They targeted it. It says they targeted wealthy travelers, wealthy. But look at us, we in the hood targeting, kinfolk down the street just because he got his tax money or something. Right? We hitting his house, taking his substance. When there is rich white people that we could take from them and they won't lose nothing. But here it is, we take something from our brothers and they lose it all, man. They lose everything that they actually worked hard for. We taking it from them. We staying in the hood robbing and murdering each other instead of taking it down the street. I mean, literally down the street where the rich white people is and taking their stuff that they're not going to hurt or lose over. Right, this is the curses of Deuteronomy. So I'm going to read again. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother and towards the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Right? Goes perfectly with the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Now let me drop down to verse 65. It says, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease. Right? This is another reason why brothers hit licks, they commit robbery and murder. Right? Because they're not finding any ease among the nations. Right? We're being oppressed, right, through this. The system, right, is systematically set up for us to fail. Right? We're considered less than 2/3 of a human being. Right? Let me get that right quick because I just posted it, so it'll be easy to pull up. Check this out. Right here. I don't know if you can see that. Let me pull up. Let me take this off so make sure I don't know if you can see that. That got quotation marks on it. It'll literally tell you that we're not full human. We're not a full human being. And this is the Constitution right here. The Constitution tells us we 2/3 of a human being. In the Constitution, right? So reading, and among these nations thou shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, right? That's why most people join these gangs, right? They want to be thugs. They trying to set up this vibration like I'm not to be messed with, right? But in actuality, they scared. They don't want to die. It says, in failing of eyes, the things that they see, and sorrow of mind, right? Because those are the most miserablest people on earth. It says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, right? They always wondering if somebody's going to come back and pay them back for breaking in their house, right? For killing one of their close relatives, or whatever the case is, dealing with this thug culture, thug life, right? And it says, and thou shalt fear day and night, and thou shalt have none assurance of thy life. This is going into the curses of Deuteronomy 28, man. It says, Salakia, it says, in the morning thou will say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning, So basically, it's saying, am I gonna die today, or am I gonna die this morning? And then when night come, am I gonna die tonight? Right? This is something our people are heavy on. This is something our people are heavy on. No, wondering if they're gonna die at that moment, or this in the daytime or the nighttime, right? And it's mostly the nighttime because freaks come out at night. That's a real saying. It says, Salakia. It says, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Straight up, man. This is in the curses of Deuteronomy. All right, let's get another one. Let's get two more. This is Isaiah chapter 42 and 22. Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. So here it is. We looking at little small, substance like TVs and different kind of electronicals, jewelry, things that we can flip, things that we can get money off of. But we've been robbed and spoiled as a people, right, by the heathen nations. It says, so we see who the real thug is. We see who the real gangster is. It says, they are all of them snared in holes. And a snare is a trap. It says, and they are hid in prison houses, right? Look, what we just read. We just read this right here. Salaki, let me pull my screen back up. I have to see this. Look. Right here. Reading it again. It says, these people engaged in criminal behavior or not, according to African American Studies Professor Michael Jeffries, this connection between being black and being a thug, it says, rose particularly during the same era in which mass incarceration rose to record levels. So this goes back to Isaiah 42 and 22, where it says, and they are hid in prison houses. It says they are for a prey, right? Because when you in a prison, you have to understand you're being made, money is being made off you being in that prison, right? There was a prison not too long ago. They sued the entire prison because they didn't have enough inmates. Prisons are created to be filled, right? Michael Jordan, he's a perfect example. That's another reason why he's a billionaire, is because he put money into prisons to help incarcerate his people. So this goes back to Maccabees 11 and 21, where it says, then certain ungodly persons who hated their own people, right, went unto the king, and they went unto the king and give him ideas to help and put forth his money to incarcerate and to, eradicate his people. Right? It says, they are for a spoil and none delivereth, for a spoil and none saith restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Straight up, man. So look, let me get one more. So this is Isaiah chapter 51 and 20. It says, hey man, all these go back to being a thug. It says, thy sons have fainted, right? Fainted goes into giving up, right? Thy sons have given up. They lie at the head of all the streets, starting from California, being on the corners of the streets. You got the Crips on one street, you got the Bloods on the next street. You better not cross the track. You better not cross the street, right? You better not come in this territory. We better not catch you at this hood store. We better not catch you at none of that. They lying at the head of the streets waiting on something, right? They're waiting on robbery and murder. It says, they lie at all the heads of the streets as a wild bull in a net. What happens when you catch a wild bull in a net? He goes crazy, right? He tries to get out of that net, and he will do whatever to get out of it. The Lord says our people is like a wild bull in a net that lie at the corners. They will do anything to be successful. They will do anything to get out of the situation that they in, including false. What did we read? It said right here. It says the acts right here, the acts of displaying false friendship They will even go to that extent of betraying their own friends to get out of that position. Just like a wild bull will do anything to get out of the position of being in the net, right? It says, they are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy God. So we're looking at the results of our people claiming thug life, you know, and the actions behind it. These are the results of the Lord being angry with the nation of Israel and giving us over to our own ruins as a people, man. That's why we cleave unto thug life more than we cleave onto the law, statutes, and commandments and everything else, man. But thug life goes back to the Hindu god Kali. Should actually go do your research on it, man, and spread it forth, man. The Lord willing, somebody get edified with it. We know everybody's not going to, listen to that, right? Because they got their own definition of thug, right? But like this lesson is just for edification, man. Shalom.